My name is Leslie Carmona. I'm the Senior Director of Donor Experience and Individual Giving for Wayne State University, which is in Detroit, Michigan. My portfolio of responsibility is essentially all stewardship, recognition, acknowledgement, and impact work for donors at all levels, and then annual and leadership annual giving for donors up to $24,999. And then I myself also carry a small portfolio of major gift donors. So a little bit of everything. And as far as how we're related to VanillaSoft, we've been a client, I think just only about, can we say 7 months? I think we can say 7 or 8 months at this point. We've been on a very interesting journey at Wayne State. We decided to make a lot of significant change in a fairly short amount of time. And for those other people out there in higher ed, you know what that means, which is warp speed in higher ed if you can get something done in 6 to 8 months. So we decided to do that. And we knew we'd be doing two things. We'd be really focusing in on leadership annual giving as a mechanism for supporting the public launch of our next campaign. We have not traditionally done any leadership annual giving work that was very sort of like focused or ardent. So that was something that was going to be really necessary for both the long-term health of our program, but then also that public phase launch a few years from now. We wanted to make sure we were ready for that. The other thing we were going to be doing is ending our relationship with the consulting firm that was running our student call center and pulling that in-house. So when we started to look for software, we're looking for software that could do two things. Could help leadership annual giving officers do personalized outreach at scale. So really large prospect pools, but very personalized outreach. And then we were also looking for software that could serve for our digital philanthropy center, which is what we now call our student call center, that would allow our student fundraisers to do a more omni-channel approach to fundraising. So email, phone, text, and we also use a video component. So we were really looking for something that would do quite a lot. And we went through a formal RFP process, and the reality was there was not another piece of software that would do everything that we were looking to do other than VanillaSoft. And some of the other things are very attractive to me as just the overall ability to customize the system. We have some unique needs. We're also looking forward to, we haven't gotten there yet, but having an API that connects our systems was also very important. We have a fairly large development team of about 160. So we have a lot of gift officers out there doing a lot of outreach, and we need to make sure that our systems are talking, in near real time. So those were some of the things that were really interesting. I would say the bonus too was just the communication we got from VanillaSoft, the support of everybody on the team from the minute we started having conversation about it, to now. We had a real slog getting the contracts moved through our institution, which just can be, again, anyone out there working in higher ed knows it's so hard. So it took us some time, and we were under a lot of pressure at that point to get it up and running by our giving day, which was early April. So we really moved through onboarding very quickly. I would not recommend being in that situation if you can't avoid it. But what I will say is it's possible to do it. And we did, which was remarkable. And we couldn't have done it without the VanillaSoft team. And all the support we got was just incredible. I've worked with a lot of pieces of software in my career, and there is a steady drop off between when you sign the contract and then what happens next. Often the sort of like customer care, even the onboarding can really just kind of nosedive. That did not happen. And if it had, we wouldn't have been able to do what we did. So I believe we started sort of focused meetings with the VanillaSoft team in February, and we were up and running just a few weeks before our giving day, which was in early April. So that was fairly incredible. Now, was it like perfect when we went live? No, we knew there was still some work we needed to do. We knew what that was going to look like, but we had the system up and working well enough to be able to run some shifts in our digital philanthropy center. And have our leadership annual giving officers out there raising money, which was all we really wanted. And then after that, we took a little bit of a breather, a pause, and refocused, which was great. I will say the best and the worst thing about VanillaSoft is the same thing, and that's it's really customizable. And I've told everyone that asks me that question, because it's often the question I get, it's the same thing. You can paralyze yourself trying to think through what you should put in the system and not put in the system. What I wish I had thought more about back then was that the system is nimble, and anytime I wanted to add something, I could add it. So maybe I didn't have to be quite so concerned about what I was going to put in, because I would have ample opportunity to add. Just last week, we decided to add a new data point. And we added it, and then we pulled every record that we have in there with that data point, and we loaded it in. And that was, I don't know, it took us approximately 15 minutes to make those decisions and make those changes. So that's really nice. There's also a good amount of legwork related to creating a lot of the collateral materials that you need. Anybody who's run a call center knows scripting, email templates, all of those things. So one thing I'd recommend to anybody taking it on is do as much of that before you even get the contract signed. If you can, like, have that stuff. If you have full-time officers using it, have them start building those things out now, as soon as you can. Our Digital Philanthropy Center is filled with student fundraisers focused on raising gifts less than $1,000. They do that through an omni-channel approach of email, text, phone, and video. And then our individual giving officers sort of pick up right at the tip of our leadership annual giving level, which is $1,000. And their outreach is also omni-channel, but it's highly personal and highly strategic. So we just sort of add that layer of what a professional fundraiser can do at a little higher level. Well, my team gets all the credit. They're incredible. They signed up and went on this wild journey with me of just a rapid amount of change in a short amount of time. And I'm very grateful to them. They really made it all possible. But our leadership annual giving officers have been doing great. I was talking with our division about what our early signs of success were. And one of the things that I often talk about is just the sheer amount of personal contact some of our officers have been able to have. I've got one officer who in the first 5 months has 1,900 contacts, and they're highly personal. That's incredible. And it's to a population that is never engaged with us. So regardless of how much traction we're getting off of that contact, I'm just so glad to see that we're actually taking the time and effort for this portion of our donor pipeline. We have uncovered a number of estate gifts, including a $100,000 one that's not documented. We have a donor who is, interestingly enough, not an alum, but the spouse of an alum who passed away, who is considering a multi-year 5-figure pledge, which is incredible. And without the work of the leadership annual giving officers, we would never have found this person. They wouldn't have hit our radar, right? Because they're not going to land into one of our major gift prospect pools. They're just not going to. So we're starting to uncover folks that are really interested in supporting the institution that maybe wouldn't fit the traditional lens of a major gift prospect, just because we're willing to do that outreach, and we're looking more at some predictive scores and some modeling that's a little bit different, obviously, than what we're looking at when we're looking at a major gift donor. So it is really exciting to see what they're able to do. Within the first 90 days of using the system, they had, between the 7 of them, 150 meetings and significant contacts, which is pretty incredible considering we really started using the system at the end of May for their work. So we were talking about summer months, which are super hard for anyone doing gift work. So that feels really good. to know that they were able to achieve so much during what can be such a slog for traditional gift officers. We've just kicked off our calendar year end and Giving Tuesday solicitation strategy, which is sort of following up to a 7 touch point cadence that we've been using for prospects. Now we're going to just flat out solicit them and see how it goes. And we loaded in a bunch of prospects that are modeled to give year end gifts that we're just getting out there and soliciting as much as we can now. They can see how each other are doing and they can learn from that, right? They're trading ideas, they're trading outreach tips, they're trying different things and then sharing their experience with each other. A couple of them decided they're going to send a text out of the system on December 31st because they want to just do one last push to the people they know who haven't given their year-end gifts, who typically do. And I just thought that's a great idea. And I'm glad they're starting to think a little bit more strategically. They're starting to think a little bit more high level because they understand how to use the software. I'm not the kind of leader that wants to be the only one that has the ideas. I really want them to start to own that work in an exciting way. And I think that's starting to happen. They've been pretty good about just sort of jumping in and getting it done. Some of the feedback is a little bit of frustration every once in a while where they want everything to be like 100% connected and seamless. And I keep having to tell them that things will move a little bit slower. It's also really interesting. My officers have a very short memory and they don't remember what it was like to not work in a system that helps you organize your outreach. And so sometimes I have to remind them or even threaten them to take it away for a week and have them go back to working on a spreadsheet so that they have a little bit of context to remind themselves about what it was like before they had something that was literally pulling up their prospects for them and telling them what to do. I do have one officer that worked for us for a while who worked in the old format, and she often is the one to speak up and say, hey guys, it was really hard before. This is so much better. But they have a little bit of a short memory for some of those things. Overall, they love it. It's interesting. I get a report every week that shows me how many hours they're spending in, and there's a direct correlation to their success on their metrics. It is absolutely direct. I mean, keeping in mind, they do get to go on vacation. Sometimes they're sick, and sometimes there's other things that keep them out of the system. Absolutely. But there is a correlation to what kind of contacts are they getting based on how many hours they're spending. And I tell them that, and, a couple of them were having a little trouble at the start. It was feeling a little slow. And I just showed them their hours compared to others. And I said, you gotta dedicate more time. And as soon as they did that, their meeting cadence started to speed up. So it really is, it's an interesting thing to manage, especially some younger career professionals through. One of the things we're most excited about, was very attractive to us to switch to VanillaSoft. Also just to have a lot of flexibility and nimbleness when it came to how we use our student fundraisers. We'd really like to see them doing some additional outreach that's more care calling, thank you calling, warming work that we're not doing. So for instance, we're hoping to start calling all of our recent grads basically right after they walk across the stage. We want somebody to call them, congratulate them, welcome them to the Alumni Association, and let them know what's out there for them as well. So that's something we're really excited about, is just being able to be that flexible. With our old vendor, it was a 6-week turnaround to load data, sometimes even longer. So it doesn't allow you to be very flexible, but now we can do that. And that feels very exciting. I also am lucky to have leadership at Wayne State that's really open to some of these longer term strategies, and less worried about sort of like right now revenue coming in. The other thing that we're really excited about, the last report I saw for our Digital Philanthropy Center, which is fiscal year to date. Our fiscal year is funny. We start our fiscal year on October 1. So just about a month and just over half. They're well over 20,000 in funds raised, but our gift to pledge ratio is starting to shift, with the gift ratio becoming much higher, which is really great. We're seeing their training start to pay off. And we're seeing that gift ratio quite a bit higher than it was when we initially started. I think the most exciting thing that we're seeing is the retention of our student fundraisers. There is a big difference to managing them in-house than having a third party do that management. One of my directors came to me and said, we're having a problem at the Digital Philanthropy Center. And I was like, oh goodness, what is it? And she said, the students, they are coming when they're not on shift. And I said, wait, what do you mean? She said, just want to come and be there. So it's a testament to the type of environment that we're creating, that it's a place our students want to be. We never had that problem before. We would turn through students pretty quickly, which was pretty typical, but now we're seeing that we're able to maintain and retain them. That's part of the model we wanted to create. So I think while it's not, a hard, fast metric that we're trying to achieve, I think it's really great. We're also working on making sure that we are tracking solicitations for our leadership annual giving officers. And so we're starting to do that in our systems by using proposals, which is pretty typical for major gift work. But we're going to really amp that up for the leadership annual giving officers, because we want to know what's their success rate when they're soliciting. What does that look like? What are their solicitation numbers? And also be able to see, even if they're not bringing in $1,000 or higher gift, where are they asking for that, falling short, but still upgrading a donor, still moving them forward in their work. So we're kind of getting to that more nuanced level of measuring the success of our work a little bit better. Obviously, reporting was not top of our list as we were trying to get everything onboarding. So we're starting to do more of that in a way that's making us all feel like, okay, we've gotten to a new level of sophistication. Not what they did. I was not expecting them to raise that. I mean, we cleared 80,000 in the first 5 months. That doesn't, it boggles the mind considering what we were up against and the time of year where we started. And the skeleton crew we had over the summer. It doesn't, I don't understand it, but they did such an incredible job, and they continue to do that. To the point where we've closed it this week just to give our manager a break because he doesn't want to take time off. So I had to say, we're going to close. We're just going to close Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's it. We're done. And obviously this is a really big time of year for them as well. So the kind of success that we are seeing, both sort of proven through numbers and anecdotal and just sort of my own experience, is not, I couldn't have expected it. We also brought a lot of new staff on board at the same time we brought VanillaSoft online, which helped us because they were learning how to do their work through the lens of the software, which I think has made and will make, knowing that most of them have only been here, anywhere between 6 and 8 months, it will give them a very methodic way of going through their work as a gift officer, no matter where they end up. And also hopefully develop a lot of gift officers I meet have a lot of fear of discovery work. These people will not have that. Like this will just be a regular piece of their work. And we would do them a disservice if we weren't really thinking about how do we grow these gift officers up the pipeline to a major gift officer, if that's what they want, or wherever they want. So we also see it as a career pipeline. Even better, we see the Digital Philanthropy Center as an even earlier career pipeline. We want to introduce our students to development as a career path. It's not something that's really traditionally there. And so we also see a really strong opportunity to continue to introduce them to this career path and hopefully see some of our Wayne State Warriors join our team in a full-time capacity. We're documenting every process we have in the system, everything that we're doing. I highly recommend that. And the other thing that I highly recommend is don't stress out when you realize there's something you didn't do or you missed, because that will happen. We were assigning some prospects to our leadership annual giving pool, and I realized as my officers were kind of getting through those contacts and moving those people out, we weren't unassigning them in our CRM. And it's just one of those things where you wake up one morning, you're like, oh my God, we're not doing that. What are we doing? But it's okay. We have 300,000 prospects in our database. The couple thousand I have for leadership annual giving officers wasn't going to hurt anyone. So we were able to then, sort of pivot and decide, okay, how do we make this work? How do we get the data out? What does that look like? And so not sweating those little things is really worth it, because I sweated that one a little harder than I should have. Making sure that you have a really clear case for making a move, like, something similar to what we did. It was pretty simple for us because we were effectively losing money with our old vendor. We were paying them more than they were raising for us. So it didn't make sense for us anymore. But build that case first. And I think, from a higher ed standpoint, having a piece of software that can solve more than one problem was a really, really strong case for obtaining it. And if you can, don't do what we did and have 2 pieces of technology, a new consultant, at 9 people to hire at the same time. Just take your time getting VanillaSoft set up. Have every member of your team that's going to use it there as much as possible. I think it's really great when there are a lot of people that know how to use the software and really understand how it was put together. Because you start with a blank slate and you get to build it. So if they're all there and they can say, this is what I need, that really, really helps a lot.